welcome to Grow New Plants. So today I'm going to turn this into this. Okay, so today I'm going to attempt to harvest seeds out of a single tomato. It's a Sweet 100 tomato, and I really love these tomatoes, but we got so much rain and everything, my tomato plants in the garden did not do well, and my pepper plants didn't either, and I grew some more Tabasco peppers from seeds. I'll put a link to that video up above, and they came out great, and they're bigger and healthier than the ones I have in the ground. So what I'm going to try and do, it's June, so I'm going to try and harvest some seeds out of this thing, and then have them dried out, ready to go, plant them up, and then maybe have some nice tomato plants to go into for a fall garden. So I'm going to try and do it all in a single season. So I have never done this before. I watched a few videos on it, so we're going to see what happens. So basically, from everything I understand, these seeds have this gel around them, and that gel keeps them from germinating. So I'm just going to kind of bust them all up here. And you see that they got that little protective gel sac around them. So you got to get that gel sac off or they'll never germinate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these things soak in some water, and then once they've soaked in water for a while, and basically what you're going to do is let them ferment, and the fermentation process will eat that protective coating off of the seeds, and then they should germinate. So basically we're going to let them sit and ferment, and then I'm going to take them and let them dry out, and then from there I should be able to plant them. It looks like I got enough. I want to plant probably an 18 cell tray. That's what I did with the peppers, and those worked out great. So I got more than 18 seeds there. So that should be good. So basically I just got a mason jar here. Got a mason jar with just plain old tap water in it. I'm just going to scoop all these seeds up, drop them down in that jar. Kind of sticky. I've been planting stuff all day, so my hands are dirty. It's amazing how many seeds are just in that one little tomato. I really wasn't sure how many were going to be in there. That seed stuck everywhere, but I know I got more than enough, so that'll be fine. I'll get all I can in there. I may give some of them away if they work. Okay, that's good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here and show you my process here, what I'm going to do. Basically I just want to get them all down in the water here. So I've got them in there, and from that point I'm just going to let them sit, and I'm going to put the lid back on. Probably what I'll do is just sit this lid on here loosely so they have a little bit of room to breathe. I'm going to let them sit for probably 2 or 3 days so I can tell they fermented. I should be able to tell, as nasty as it seems, I should be able to tell by the way they smell. So once they fermented, I'll take them and dry them out. So we're going to let them sit for a couple days, and we'll come back and finish filming. Okay, so it's been like 4 or 5 days, and this stuff definitely fermented. You see the water is all cloudy and everything. So what I'm going to do is I've just got a little strainer here, so I'm just going to pour all the seeds into that bowl. Make sure there's still a few in there, so I'm going to grab a little water just to kind of rinse the seeds a little bit too. Make sure I get them all out. That looks like all of them. So I'm just going to rinse these under the sink real quick. Okay, so they're all rinsed, and you can see all the little sacks around them are all gone now. So I'm just going to take these things and just dump them out on a little plate here. You could do it on a paper towel or something like that, but these things will be dried in no time. And so you can look at them. They're very plump at this point. They're not dried out at all, so obviously they've been soaking in water, so they're very plump. So I'm just going to let these things sit here and dry for probably, I'm guessing a week to 10 days. I'll just take them and basically just going to look at them and see when they look like tomato seeds that you'd buy at the store. So, okay, it has been, I believe, 9 days since I dried the seeds, and I took them in yesterday and went ahead and soaked them for 24 hours. And I had probably about 5 or 6 seeds that floated when I first put them in there. I had more seeds than what I needed anyway, so I just pulled all the floaters out immediately. So all these are nice and plump. So I can get one out where you can see it. They're nice and plump, fat, so they ought to be good to go. So what I'm going to do, I've got a 32 cell Rootmaker tray, and I'm just going to take my tweezers. These tweezers work really good for planting these seeds because you can just kind of poke them down in there and get hold of them. Oops, I don't think my seed went in that one. I don't know if that was a seed still or not. I think it was. I think I got a seed in that one. So I'm just going to go through here and just pull out one seed and put it in each tray. So while I'm doing that, I was going to mention to you too, I've now got the people at Rootmaker have sent me a discount code. So if you look down in the description of the video, I have a discount code now, where if you follow that code and go to Rootmaker's retail store, you can get a 15% off coupon on anything in the Rootmaker store. And they've got a lot of their items, these trays, pots, grow bags, fertilizers, stuff like that. They've got all that stuff on their website in smaller quantities where you don't have to buy tons of stuff. If you go to rootmaker.com and then you go down to the above the top, there'll be a link that goes to the retail store. So if you want to do that, there's a 15% off coupon code down in the description of the video. So anyway, I'll fast forward through this. We'll get all these seeds planted, and then I will take them and put them in my grow table, keep them watered, and hopefully within a week or so these things should start emerging up, and hopefully we'll have a bunch of cherry tomato plants. Okay, it has been 4 weeks now to the day since I planted these seeds, and you see what I got. I had 100% germination. I had 2 plants for some reason or another died. There's one of them there, had a little bit of a root, still actually a little bit alive. 2 of them that died, I don't really know why they died, but they died after they came up. Some are bigger than others, but 100% germination of these seeds, and they started coming up I think within 4 or 5 days. So the process that I did worked, 100% absolutely worked. And so these 4 weeks, so it's basically about 6 weeks from the time that I took the tomato off the plant to the time that these things are ready to be transplanted up into bigger pots, 6 weeks. So these are going to be ready. I'm going to move them up into some bigger pots, and these will be ready for a fall crop of tomatoes. So let's go ahead and take a look, see what some of the roots look like. I'm going to take 4 of them, and I'm going to transplant them up into the 1 gallon Rootmakers, and then I'm going to transplant the rest of them up into these are just little 4-inch pots. These are actually, they're cheap pots. They're thin, but for these transplants and stuff, they work really good. I did the peppers in some of these, a 6-inch version of these, and they work really good. They're very inexpensive. I'll put a link down the bottom for that. I'm using my Rootmaker 6 propagation mix with the Rootmaker 6 fertilizer in it. And there's a link. I'll put a link up at the top of the video for that too, if you want to watch that video on how I make this stuff. So let's go ahead and we'll pull a couple of these out. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of the bigger ones, and I'm going to put those up into the 1 gallon pots. And these things are still wet. They pull out easier when they're not wet, but they've completely rooted out these pots. Not super huge, but they've rooted them out. They're definitely plenty good enough to be transplanted up now into bigger pots. So we'll go ahead and do a couple of these into the big Rootmaker pots first, and then we'll come back and we'll put a few in the smaller ones, and I'll just fast forward to doing all the rest of them. Trying to keep this video as short as possible, but I know that's kind of too late already. So I'm planting these back at normal height. When they go in the ground, there's a lot of theories on tomatoes on that you prune a few of the lower limbs off and plant them deeper, then they'll grow additional roots and stuff out. But for planting them up into these pots, I'm planting them back at the original depth. So that's basically all there is to that. I'll go ahead and do one more of those, and then we'll put a couple of them in these smaller pots. I'll go ahead and just grab this next one here. Really nice root systems. Really nice. So I'm excited about this. So I wasn't sure whether, because I watched a lot of videos on, you know, collecting seeds on tomatoes, and they were, a lot of them were, you know, they talked about you collect them, dry them and all that, and then you store them and you use them for the next year. But never saw any videos on using them in the same year. So that's why I kind of wanted to see, could I take tomatoes for my spring tomatoes, take seeds from my spring tomatoes, and then grow plants for my fall garden. That one's a little smaller and the root system's not quite as tight and compact, but it's going to be fine. And there's not a lot of extra soil. These things aren't really potting up too much bigger. I probably should have went with a little bit bigger pot on these, but it gives them a little bit more room to grow roots out. So they'll be fine. They'll probably grow. I mean, those pepper plants that I did in the 6-inch pots, they got huge. So I'm guessing these things will probably double or triple in size in these pots. And from that point on, they'll be ready to put into full-size containers. Either big containers if you're going to grow them container, or back into your garden if you're going to grow them that way. You know what I think I'm going to do? So I'm going to fast forward through planting the rest of these up, but I'm going to go get a couple of my 6-gallon or 6-inch pots, and I'm going to transplant a few of these into the 6-gallon or the 6-inch pots that are similar to these, and then I'll go ahead and do a couple more into my Rootmaker pots. And okay, so this is going to take a while to plant all these up, but I got enough of them planted up for the video. I'll do the rest of them off camera. Anyway, I just wanted to let you see these. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of them. And I guess I had 30 total, so I got almost half of them planted up. A few of them are pretty small, so I may let them sit for another week or so before I finish potting them up to let the roots grow out a little bit more on them. But I'll pull the bigger ones out, plant them up. But anyway, point being, roughly 6 weeks from taking a tomato off the plant to having all these plants right here. And then I'm guessing in another 2 or 3 weeks, these things will be probably doubled or tripled in size, at least the ones in the bigger pots. And I'll kind of look and see how these other ones do in the smaller pots. But I know they'll take off growing because they've got more room for roots to grow, and the plants will start growing. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. So if you want to try and do this, just take you a tomato, follow along what I did, and you can plant your own tomato plants for your fall garden. Probably still time. It's middle of July, or almost the end of July, I guess. So you probably still got time to get some planted up if you want to try it. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Thank you. Bye.